Diabetes is hard enough for everyone, but when you're older, you have some additional things to worry about. This is my mom, Eva.
Hello.
She's 84 and has been successfully managing her diabetes for over 40 years. She's in great shape for her age and has some tips for all of us. She doesn't speak English, so I'll tell you what she told me. We include several tips, but the most important is the last one. So make sure you watch to the end. Diabetes sucks.
But at Simply Diabetes, we can help you manage your diabetes cheaper and easier.
We are not medical professionals. We are people with diabetes, just like you.
Welcome. If you find this information useful, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us.
Like it or not, our bodies change over time. And it's not just a wrinkle here, a gray hair there. What used to be easy in the past slowly becomes harder. Diabetes is also affected by aging, and we need to adapt. If you are elderly and have diabetes, or if you are caring for someone older that has diabetes, my mom's tips can help you.
Dbaj, żeby cukrzyca nie zepsuła ci reszty życia.
Make sure that diabetes doesn't destroy the remainder of your life. Some people relax their control of diabetes as they age. They don't have that much time left, the thinking goes, and there won't be enough time for diabetes to develop enough to give them all these nasty complications. And so they let themselves eat more carby, they move less, and they sometimes don't even take their meds. That's a bad idea. We know that diabetes impacts our hearts, eyes, ears, kidneys, and feet. But in older people, we have an additional issue, dementia. That's a horrible disease that robs us of who we are. Very high and very low sugars are damaging to our brains, and the damage gets particularly harmful when you're older. If you knew how long you have, you probably could time it and ignore your diabetes towards the end. But how do you know if you have 5 more years or 20? There's no way to know unless your health is already terrible. And even then, maybe you could improve it. It's in our best interest to stay as healthy as possible. Aging doesn't change this. Healthy oldsters can have a great life. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And to stay healthy, we need to take good care of our diabetes, just like the younger people. And that includes eating well, moving, and staying on top of the meds.
Smak się zmienia, ale apetyt maleje.
Let's start with the food. Have you noticed that some restaurants have senior menus with smaller portions? That's because your appetite changes as you age. Many older people will want to eat less, and so the restaurants meet the needs of their customers. That's great, as long as what you cut down on is bread, potatoes, and dessert. Don't cut down on veggies. Vegetables are as good as medicine, as we said in the previous videos. And cutting them down is a terrible idea, particularly since aging also impacts digestion and food absorption. Our sense of taste changes over time, and what used to be an awesome treat now tastes decidedly less awesome. So mom takes advantage of this. She used to love sweets. She could happily eat a box of chocolates at one sitting. She wouldn't, but it was a struggle. Now, the sweets suddenly don't taste as good. At first, she'd just continue eating as much as she usually would, but that didn't bring her as much enjoyment as it used to. So, she stopped. Why eat something carby if you don't enjoy it as much anymore? It still tastes good, but if it isn't as awesome as it used to, it will be easier to eat less of it. Just saying. On the flip side, if food starts tasting bland, you might want to add more spices and herbs. Try adding things you haven't before. Forgotten herbs like lovage or spices from other cultures will liven up your plates and you'll enjoy it more.
Nie lubię ćwiczyć, ale wiem, że jest mi to potrzebne.
Let's talk about moving more now. Mom just said she hates exercising, but knows it's important. We've all heard a million times about how important movement is, but for older people, it's even more important. Exercise is the closest humanity gets to a fountain of youth. We're not suggesting you pick up marathon running as your new hobby on your 80th birthday. We are saying staying active is one of the best ways to combat diabetes. So go for a walk, even if you really don't feel like it. Do a few squats or wall push-ups. It can be anything. Just do something.
I always say the day I least want to move is the day I need it the most. When I have to drag myself to a pickleball game, later I'm always glad I did.
Me too. I have a built-in motivator though. Our dogs always want to drag me for a walk, and I use them as my personal trainers, unless it's raining. They are true desert pups. Another option is to take fitness classes designed for seniors. Mom also goes to physical therapy periodically. It helps tremendously.
Utrzymuj kontakt z rodziną i przyjaciółmi.
Keep in touch with family and friends. We humans are social creatures. Keeping in touch with other people is always important, but particularly when you age, and even more so when you have diabetes. Older people often feel lonely and pushed aside. Left to their own devices, they often sit at home and eat. Not good, especially for blood sugar. Keeping in touch gets tougher over time. As you age, so do your friends. And the older you are, the fewer close friends you have. Many get sick and pass. Making new friends is hard in the best of circumstances, but really hard when you get older. We have a friend who makes friends really easily. I have always admired that and tried watching how she does it. And for the life of me, I can't do it the way she does. It's really effective for her. She just chats with people wherever she is, and they respond well to her. I always feel like a phony when I try to emulate her, but maybe her technique will work for you. But you don't have to be this brave and talk to total strangers in random settings. You can join a seniors club in your area where people are expecting to make friends. Play chess or bridge, or do anything social. If you find a social activity that challenges your brain, that's even better. Mom is in her mid-80s, and many of her good friends are already gone. Dad died 4 years ago, and she feels lonely without him. She goes out of the house, but not very far. I suggested she talks to someone daily, if only for a brief moment. She was concerned about intruding on people. One person she knows calls her daily and wants to chat for hours. She finds it way too much. She doesn't want to be like that person. Yet it's important that she talks to someone every day. So we made a list of people she could chat with. We added old friends, newer friends, family members, casual acquaintance, anyone that would make sense. The list ended up 36 people long. Now all Mom needs to do is rotate that list. Calling someone once a month is not too intrusive, and Mom has someone different to call each day. Some of these people will drop off the list. Others will call her back in a few days or so, and that day she doesn't need to call anyone if she doesn't want to. But at least she doesn't feel as lonely, and if she needs help, she already has closer relationships with these people. There are days when she doesn't want to call anyone. That's okay. But in general, the list helps her stay social.
Bierz lekarstwa, jak zalecił lekarz.
Follow doctor's orders with meds. Not everyone with diabetes takes meds, but if you do, it's important to follow doctor's orders. There are 3 things here: remembering to take the meds, remembering whether we took the meds, and drug interactions. All are important, and we have some tips to help with these. For the first issue, remembering to take the meds, a routine is your friend. If you always take the meds at the same time, keep them in the same place, and have them visible, that goes a long way. Another tip is to set a reminder on your calendar. Use your phone to remember for you. This is particularly important for meds such as Ozempic, which you take weekly. Remembering whether you took the meds might sound a bit strange at first. After all, if you took it, you should remember.
If only it was that simple.
Right. But if you're busy, or if your mind is beginning to slow down, you might not remember. We have a system. We use meds organizers, but not the way the producers intended. We take the meds in the morning and in the evening. We place morning meds for both people in one organizer and the evening ones in another. We take the meds for that day of the week. If they are gone, it means we took them. If they are still there, we have a visual cue. Filling the organizer is one of my least favorite things to do. Luckily, I only do it once a month.
What if you take only one med?
You can put out the bottle right side up in the morning and upside down in the evening. So now you have a visual reminder as long as you keep the bottle visible. Now the last problem about the meds, drug interactions. The more meds you take, the more attention you need to pay here. Every med prescribed for you for any ailment can interact with the meds you're already taking, including the diabetes meds. Some interactions are well known, but that's a minority. There's little research into this because this is a huge issue with literally thousands of drug combinations people take, and there's no funding for it. So you need to pay attention. Your first line of defense is the prescribing doctor. Doctors are trained to watch out for diabetes issues, but they are only human. So you need to ask. Your pharmacist is also a great resource. My mom had a huge issue once. Her diabetes is normally very well controlled, and suddenly she began getting horrible lows. Twice in 1 week, my cousin found her unconscious on the floor, and then once I did. It was terrifying. We had to call an ambulance, and they helped at that moment, but didn't offer any guidance about the future. I was wondering what happened. It turns out that mom got a new medication. It was a known issue that it can lower the blood sugar. The doctor didn't remember to warn mom. Mistakes like this happen even to the best doctor. So just to be sure, our next step, as we mentioned, is to talk to our pharmacist. Pharmacists in general often know more about meds than doctors do. They are also less swamped. So we find a time when our pharmacy is less busy and start chatting with our pharmacist. You can find quite a bit about your meds and drug interactions, including the tips that will make your life easier. We did several times.
Bądź użyteczny.
Be useful and have a purpose. The Japanese call it ikigai. Mom has been helpful to others all her life. It makes her feel needed, which is an excellent antidote to loneliness. Until very recently, Mom had a 95-year-old neighbor who had no one to help. Mom, of course, couldn't do any physically demanding things, but she would cook soup for the neighbor and bring it over every day. A bowl of soup is a fantastic thing for diabetes, warming the body and the soul. And the neighbor really appreciated Mom's visits as well as the soup. The neighbor died last year, and now Mom is helping in another way. She lives in Poland, and there is a war in the neighboring Ukraine. Mom helps a Ukrainian refugee woman. She's teaching her Polish and is helping her find her place in this new, strange to her land.
Za niski cukier jest gorszy niż za wysoki.
As we age, our sugar low is more dangerous than a high. Unless the high is truly outrageous, it doesn't pose immediate danger. Yes, there is damage to your body going on, but you're not going to die from it right now. A low, though, can kill you. It can also cause other problems, such as losing consciousness and falling. Falling is very dangerous to the elderly because their bones are often brittle. Breaking a hip can be a death sentence. Long term, lows can lead to dementia. If you're older, avoid lows at all costs. Mom's doctor recommended a specific blood sugar level before going to bed, 170. It's higher than for a younger person, but it keeps Mom safe from lows overnight. And here's the most important tip I promised at the beginning.
Jeśli mieszkasz sam, niech ktoś cię codziennie rano sprawdzi.
This tip can save a life. If you live by yourself and have diabetes, make sure someone keeps an eye on you and checks on your well-being every morning. It could be a family member, a friend, or a neighbor. I live on a different continent, but I talk to Mom every day. Some conversations are as short as literally 3 sentences. Are you okay? What's your sugar? Love you, bye. But that's enough to make sure she's okay, and also she feels like someone cares. As I mentioned a moment ago, checking up on someone can save a life. One time I called, Mom sounded really strange on the phone. She was somewhat incoherent and very tired. I was worried and pinged my cousin who lived in the same city as Mom. She came over and found Mom not quite herself. She called an ambulance and they took Mom to a hospital. The diagnosis was a mild stroke. Mom is fine, but she might not have been if we didn't act fast. So find someone to keep an eye on you, just in case. Hopefully you'll never need it, but if you do, the system is in place. If you found this info useful, give us a like and subscribe to our Simply Diabetes channel. And tell your friends. That's the best way to reach more people. See you next time.